Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing a Q&A. A few weeks ago I asked you guys on my community page for some questions about motherhood specifically, and y'all asked some great questions. Some of them were not about motherhood, which is totally fine. So we're just gonna go through the questions. I'm gonna answer them as best I can. We're gonna talk about some stuff in this video. So this is going to be a little bit different for me. I'm gonna be very open and vulnerable in this video, and some of the questions I kind of went back and forth on if I was going to even touch on it or not, just because the internet is a crazy place, and sometimes when you open yourself up for comments about certain things, crazy things can happen. But you know what, we're gonna do it, and my hope is that if you are a new mom, or maybe you're not, maybe you want to be a mom, or maybe you've been a mom for 20 plus years, that this can be a video you can come to, we can relate to each other, and maybe something that I say will resonate with somebody out there and hopefully be helpful. And if this is not your type of content, I totally get it. I don't usually share a ton about my personal life, but I am going to share some stuff today. I'm in kind of a chatty mood and I kind of want to share, so I'm going to. So I am going to talk about some more sensitive things. We're going to talk about postpartum journey, postpartum depression, a little bit about my journey to get pregnant, fertility, all of those things, and I'm just going to be open and honest with you. So that is today's video, and of course I'm going to do my makeup as well while we do this. So I've got my coffee here, and we're just gonna chat. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. All right, I'm gonna do SPF first because I haven't done that yet today. So I'm using the Beauty of Joseon Day Dew sunscreen. This is the one I got during the Sephora sale. I guess I'll start with kind of giving you just a brief update on where I'm at. A lot of you probably know if you watch my videos regularly, but in case you don't, I had my first baby 6 months ago, a boy. His name is Woods. I do not share him online. I hate that I don't feel like I can, but I don't. It's just the world that we live in is a very scary place. And although most people are completely, kind people that, would love to see him and have nothing but good intentions, there are people out there that don't. So unfortunately, I will not be sharing pictures of him online, but I am happy to share about my experience with motherhood so far and my thoughts. So he will be 6 months old in December. So he's about 5.5 months old now. And he is my first baby. I am 33 years old. I had a lot of trouble getting pregnant with him. I have gotten pregnant many times in the past, had many early miscarriages until I had him. So that was a whole journey in itself. And now he is 6 months old, and overall it's been a smooth experience, but there's definitely been some stuff that's gone down. He is not a great sleeper. So right now he's still not really sleeping through the night. He's getting close, but we're still not sleeping through the night. And I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more later, but that's kind of where we're at. Also, if you are not familiar with my content, I am now a stay-at-home mom full-time. And then I do content creation. So that's kind of a little bit about me. My husband does also work from home, so we're both here all day, every day. And yeah, that kind of segues into the first question, which this one is not a super heavy question. So we'll start with this one, but it's, what have you done before starting YouTube, and looking forward, do you plan to stay here as a full-time job or just as a hobby? So before I started YouTube, I worked in healthcare. I worked in home health specifically. I was a scheduler for a home health company, and I did that for almost 5 years, like a little over 4 years, and I hated it. I hated that job. And that is when I started my YouTube channel. I a few years prior to starting that job, I was still in college and I discovered YouTube and how much I loved makeup. I honestly didn't really know that I loved makeup until a little bit later on. I wasn't really someone that loved it like growing up and all that. I didn't really discover that I loved it until I was in college, really. So 5 years ago, or actually it's like 5.5 now, I decided one day, it was a Saturday, that I was going to try to film a YouTube video. I don't know why on that particular day I just decided that I was going to, but I did, and I tried it, filmed a video, taught myself how to edit it, and I thought it was going to be a really challenging thing for me to do, but it wasn't. It was like one of the easiest things I've ever tried to do, which is kind of crazy because I'm actually a very shy, very reserved person. So I'm not really someone that you would think would film YouTube videos and upload them on the internet. But when I started doing it, it was just, I don't know, it just came naturally to me. And I've been doing it ever since. And I continued doing it when I had that job for like 2 years in, and then I ended up leaving that job and just doing content full time. And that is what I am doing now, in addition to being a mom now, which has presented me with a lot of challenges that I didn't really foresee before. Not that I didn't foresee it, but I thought making content and having a baby was going to be a little bit easier than it is. So to answer the second part of the question, I plan to still do this full time. I don't have a plan to go back and get like a normal 9-to-5 job. I plan to continue doing this and to stay home with my baby. But I will also say that that has been one of the most challenging things, is finding time in my days now to film, and more than that, edit. That has been one of the greatest challenges that I've had, because what a lot of people don't realize about YouTube is YouTube takes a long time. Filming a video usually takes me, depending on the video, it takes me about 2 hours. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes I can do it more quickly, but I would say on average it takes me about 2 hours. And then I would say it takes me about at least 2 hours to edit a video. Most of the time, depending on the video, it takes me closer to 3 to 4 hours to edit a video. So that's a pretty big chunk of time for someone that's at home with a newborn baby, or now I'm at home with a 5.5-month-old baby. That has been the greatest challenge, is trying to find the time in my day to do those things. So that is, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I do plan to continue doing this. I don't plan to go anywhere. That's a little bit about how I started my YouTube channel. But side note, y'all, you know what I have discovered in the last few weeks? Since I filmed my last everyday makeup drawer video, I have been using this Eldridge skin tint, and I feel like I have not known how good this is this whole time. Do you ever not use a product for a while and then you go back to using it and you realize that you love it, and it's almost like you just kind of been sleeping on it? That's how I've been with this skin tint. It is so good, and it's also a perfect shade match for me. Perfect. This is the shade T6, and I love it. It is so good. Side note, not related at all to the video, but I just wanted to mention it because that's what I just applied. Okay, the next question is, what's something you wish was discussed more openly regarding motherhood? Something that you may have felt alone about, but then after opening up to someone or reading about it in a book or on the internet, you discovered it's actually completely normal. Oh gosh, okay. There are so many things I can say for this question. One that just comes to mind, I didn't prepare answers for these questions. I just kind of wanted to go off of whatever comes to my mind at the time. One thing is, after you have a baby, you have what I guess is called like after birth contractions, I think. So after I had Woods, I can remember for like 2 weeks after I had him, I had the worst abdominal pain, like really sharp, kind of like a labor contraction, like cramping pain. And it was like shooting pain. It really was very uncomfortable. And I can remember at night it would bother me the most, and I would be like laying in bed and all of a sudden I would get this like just intense crampy feeling in my whole like middle of my abdomen. It was very bizarre. And I feel like I just did not know that was a thing. I guess now, you know, after looking into it, because I even asked several of the nurses in the hospital about it, because I was in the hospital for a few days after I had him, and they were like, oh yeah, that's your uterus shrinking back to its normal size, or trying to. And then it's also your, and what did they tell me? They told me that I might have also like kind of pulled a muscle in this area when I was in labor or something. I don't know. They told me it could be either the contractions, like after labor contractions, or it was from like me pulling a muscle or something. I don't know. But I had that probably for at least a week, but I think it was actually closer to 2 weeks after I had him. And that shocked me. I had no idea. I mean, I feel like maybe I'd read a little bit about that during pregnancy, but not, I had no idea it was going to feel like it did. It was very painful. I guess the other thing I would say is I did not realize before having a baby how much time I had in my previous life, like before I had a child. I did not realize how much time I had during the day and how much time I would not have once I had a baby. And maybe that sounds like a stupid answer, I don't know, but now looking back and thinking about my life before I had a child and like making content and stuff like that, now I feel like I was kind of a slacker before, to be honest, because I had so much time to film and edit and get things done around the house, do laundry, you know, whatever I needed to do, go run an errand, anything like that, and sit in the morning with my coffee and watch a YouTube video. I had so much time before and I didn't realize it until now. And now I'm looking back and thinking like, wow, Blair, based on how little time I have now, I had an astronomical amount of time then. But it's so funny how you have to like not have the time anymore to see how much time you had, if that makes sense. One other thing that just randomly came to mind before we move on to the next question, I just thought of it when I was sitting here. Something I had no idea about in pregnancy is skin tags. I just randomly started getting skin tags everywhere. Like I'd never had them before. And in pregnancy, I feel like every week or so when I would be in the shower, I would notice another one that was not there before. Is that a thing? I think it is, because I'm not really doing it anymore. I was Googling it, and apparently that's like a thing when you're pregnant. A lot of women develop skin tags, and I definitely did, and no idea, that I had no clue that was a thing. It's so interesting, some of the things that happen to your body in pregnancy. All right, I just realized I was just like blending away on this side and I'm not even moving into the next question. Okay, this comment, I felt this comment so deeply when I read it. Thank you for sharing this. It says, I'm 5 weeks postpartum and I feel so out of control. This may be too personal, but I feel like my body is falling apart as I could feel a bit of a uterus prolapse. I'm severely lacking in sleep, and breastfeeding has been a brutal journey as well. I love my baby very much, but I feel like I'm losing a sense of myself, and I'm not sure if things will ever feel normal again. Would love to hear about your postpartum journey, what challenges you have, and how you overcome them. I totally understand this comment, because I definitely have felt the exact same thing. I struggled quite a bit in the first, I would say, 3 months of having a baby, especially the first like 6 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks. And you do, or at least I did, I felt very much like out of control is kind of how I would describe it. Your emotions are all over the place. Your hormones are all over the place. Your body has obviously changed quite a bit. You have a new baby. If you've never had a baby before, that's a whole thing in and of itself. If you're like me and you haven't really been around babies before, you don't know anything about anything. It's a very unsettling feeling. Obviously, it's a beautiful thing, and having a baby is an amazing, beautiful blessing, and it is, but it is incredibly challenging. And I know exactly how you're feeling physically, mentally, all the things, and wondering if you're ever going to feel normal again. And you know, the truth is, it's almost like you have a new normal. You're never going to have your previous normal. You just have a new normal, and you have to adjust and adapt to that new version of your normal, if that makes sense. But I totally understand where you're coming from. I have had, I would say, a lot of challenges postpartum, a lot of them. And that kind of leads me into the next question, which we'll just kind of talk about this now. Did you deal with postpartum depression? And the answer is yes, I did. I really struggled after having my baby with just not feeling like myself. And I feel like that's a pretty normal thing to feel after you have a baby, because your whole world is turned upside down. I mean, and I knew it was going to be like that. You know, you read books, you hear people say, you know, your life's going to be different, all those things, but you don't really understand it until you go through it. But yes, to answer the question, yes, I definitely did struggle with postpartum depression and anxiety. And I am on Zoloft for it. And I haven't talked about that in a video. I haven't shared that. I wasn't really sure if I was going to be honest. Because, you know, like I said in the intro, the internet is a very interesting place. It can be a very positive place, and it can also be a very toxic and negative place. And there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of opinions about certain things, and they feel the need to share them with you, especially if they don't agree with you. So I wasn't really sure if I was going to share that, but yes, I did. I am definitely in a much better place now, but I still have days where I feel very overwhelmed with, for me, being a mom and trying to continue doing content in YouTube, because it is, like I said earlier, very time consuming. And the reality is I just don't have the time. I don't have time that I used to have. I have very little in the day now. But yeah, I absolutely struggled with postpartum depression and anxiety. And I would recommend to anyone that is, talk to your doctor, talk to somebody about it, and do something to help, because you just do it. Just do it, because it most likely won't improve on its own. For me, that's how it's been. I definitely needed help from the medicine, and you know, that's okay. That is okay. And that's something that needs to be talked about more, because I think a lot of women struggle and they feel like there's something wrong with them, or they shouldn't be struggling, or they're embarrassed to tell somebody. Postpartum is a very unique, interesting journey for everybody, because on one hand, you have this beautiful baby, or I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate. You have this beautiful baby that you have wanted, you prayed for, you just could not wait to meet, and then you have them and they are so precious, and just, you love them so much it hurts. And then there's the other part of you that is almost kind of grieving your previous self, if that makes sense. I'm sure it probably does to a lot of you that are mothers, but that's kind of how it feels. It feels like you are grieving your previous life, even though you're so happy about this new person that's now in your life, but your life is completely different. It's a very hard thing to explain, but yeah, I struggled. I really, really struggled. And if you are struggling and you are out there having a hard time, I totally understand how you feel, and you're not alone. You're not the only one. There's not something wrong with you. you are going to be okay. It's really hard. But I totally understand where you're coming from with this comment, and I support you. You're not alone. It will get better. Moving into the next part of this question, and this is something I wasn't really sure if I was going to talk about at all, to be honest, just because some of the stuff I see online about this, when people talk about this, is astounding to me. But I think it's important, so we're going to talk about it. And it's, are you breastfeeding? Are you bottle feeding? What's the situation? Okay. I have a lot to say about this, but no, I am not breastfeeding. I tried obviously when I first had him, but it just, in my mind, it was not meant to be, because so I kind of mentioned in my birth story video where I talked about this a little bit, when he was born, he was in the NICU for about 3 days, and he had, I don't really understand it, to be honest, but he was breathing more quickly, I guess, than he was supposed to be breathing. And that was one of the reasons why he was in the NICU. And basically they told me it would not be safe for me to try to nurse him until they got his breathing under control or more normal. So I did not try to breastfeed him in the hospital. And we were in the hospital for almost 5 days because of the NICU. I personally think because of that kind of led to the outcome of my breastfeeding journey, because I did try to pump in the hospital, and they brought me a pump and I tried to do all that. But because I didn't attempt to breastfeed him for the first few days, in fact, I wasn't with him at all for the first few days because he was in the NICU. And then I also had no milk supply. I did all the things. I went to a lactation consultant numerous times, and I had no milk supply. None. I would pump, I would do all the things, and I would get like just little tiny bits of milk. And obviously I gave him anything that I could get, but I didn't have any milk supply. And what happened when we got home was he would not latch. He would refuse to latch. He would get really upset. He would arch his back, scream, cry, all the things. He just would not latch. But he would take a bottle instantly. And my theory is that because he was in the NICU and because I didn't breastfeed him, or I didn't attempt to, in those first few days, they were bottle feeding him. He got used to using a bottle, and then that's what he wanted to do. He wanted the bottle. He did not want to breastfeed. And that there may not be any truth to that. I don't know, but that is my gut thought about why that was happening. And on top of all that, I did not have hardly any milk supply either. So I'm sure that was probably also frustrating to him. When I could get him to latch, he wasn't getting much from me. So yeah, I did that for about a month, and then we switched to formula because it was just very clear to me that for whatever reason, it was not meant to be. I would have loved to breastfeed, and I think breastfeeding is amazing. And, women that are able to do it and have plenty of milk and they do that, I think that's the most incredible, beautiful thing. I would love to be able to do that. And, in the future, I don't know if I'll have another baby, but if I did, I would definitely try to breastfeed again. But it just wasn't meant to be this time around. I fully believe that. Also, while all this was going down, my pump broke. My pump just randomly quit working. So I had to file a warranty claim, and then I had to wait for the part to come. So I was trying to use a manual pump in the meantime. And if you're trying to use a manual pump and you don't have a lot of milk supply, first of all, your hand feels like it wants to just break off because you're pumping so furiously and nothing is happening. And it's incredibly frustrating. But that also happened all in that first month. So yeah, breastfeeding this time around was not in the plan. And I'm sad about it. But it wasn't meant to be. And the reason I wasn't going to talk about this is because Whenever I see posts online from people sharing about their experience with motherhood, breastfeeding, whether they try to breastfeed or they didn't want to breastfeed and they chose to formula feed, or they couldn't breastfeed for whatever reason, whatever it is, when I read the comments, I am absolutely astounded by some of the comments that I read. Just mean, hateful comments from other women, like 95% of the time. And it's just astounding to me. It is absolutely astounding to me that somebody thinks that it's okay to tell somebody that how they're feeding their baby is not okay. That is just, I could talk about that for a very long time. I won't rant on it, but that just grinds my gears when I see comments like that, because you have no idea what's going on in somebody's life. You have no idea why they are or not breastfeeding. You have no idea. And you have no right to make a comment or to make any judgment to that person. It's just astounding to me. So hopefully I won't get any of those comments on this video. But if I do, because the keyboard warriors love to come out in videos that discuss things like this, we don't tolerate that here. We don't tolerate any negative comments, especially about something like that. So if I see any of that in the comments, you will be removed from the channel. So just putting that out there. I do not stand for that. And if I see any of it, then you will be gone from this channel. And I'm sorry to be so harsh about that, but that's how strongly I feel about it. I cannot stand it when I see people make comments about that. So all that to say, I would love to be able to breastfeed, but for whatever reason, it wasn't in the plan this time. And that's okay. And it's totally okay if you're in the same boat. And if you're not, if you're able to breastfeed, I think that's amazing. And if you choose to formula feed for whatever reason, I can totally understand that too. But I did want to bring it up and I did want to address it since someone did ask about it. But it's not easy for me to talk about because, like I said, people love to hate on people online about certain things, and unfortunately motherhood and breastfeeding is definitely one of them. But I wanted to be as real and open with you in this video, so I wanted to at least share my experience. One other thing I will also say about breastfeeding before we move on is the little bit of time that I did have where I was able to at least kind of experience what that is like when I was able to get him to latch. I loved that. I loved it. I think it's such a cool, just beautiful thing that women can do that. And like I said, I totally would have if it had worked for me, but it just didn't. It just didn't. Everything just did not work in my favor in that department. But I think it's such a beautiful thing that women are able to do that. I am setting my face a little bit with powder, and this is something I'm loving at the moment from L'Oreal, this Infallible Blurfection. This is a very, very good powder. Very good powder. This is the first time I've loved a loose powder from the drugstore, but this one I absolutely love. I'm using the shade Translucent Light, but this is a fantastic loose powder if you're looking for one from the drugstore. Okay, let's move into a lighter topic. This question says, maybe something about yourself that you think we'd be surprised to learn. Looking forward to this video. Okay, I have something very surprising, or at least I think it is. I think it's pretty surprising, and honestly, it's something that if you had asked me when I was younger if I would ever share this, especially on the internet, I would be like, absolutely not. Never in a million years. Because this is something that I was really self-conscious about when I was young. But I'm going to share it. I can't believe I'm going to share it, but I will, since you asked. And I mean, now as an adult, I've come a long way. I put myself out there on the internet. So I can't believe I'm going to share it, but I will. I was born missing 5 teeth. Yeah, I was born missing 5 teeth. Now, 2 of them were wisdom teeth. So I was only born with 2 wisdom teeth, but 3 of my permanent teeth I was born without. So 3 of my teeth that you see are not, they're fake. They are implants. So, and believe it or not, my 2 front, not my 2 front teeth, but these 2 next to it, I forget what they're called. I should know that after everything I've been through with my teeth, but those 2 teeth are implants. I was born without those teeth. And then I was also born without another one that's kind of in the back. Not a back molar, but one of the teeth that's close to the back. I was born without that one too. So I have 3 implants in the top of my mouth. Does that shock you? Probably so. Because yeah, I've never shared that. When I was young, you know, when you're a young girl, that is a very traumatic thing to have. I, for years, had to wear a retainer that had 2 teeth on it, so that when I put the retainer in, it looked like I had those 2 teeth there, and I didn't. And yeah, I was extremely self-conscious about that, extremely. In fact, my now husband, when we first started dating, I was just starting the process of getting implants where I didn't have those teeth. And I was so embarrassed that I can remember being at his house he was living at the time. And I would go in the bathroom and I would like lock the door because I didn't want him to come in and see that I had to take my retainer out to brush my teeth. And obviously those teeth were attached to my retainer. I was so scared that he was going to come in and he was going to see that. Obviously, we had just started dating. We're married now. And I did tell him eventually. I forget how long it took me when we were dating to tell him, but I finally did. And he was like, really? I made it into this whole huge thing about like, I have to tell you something about myself and like all that. And then when I finally told him, he was like, was that really what you were that worried about telling me? And I was like, yeah. I don't know. I was just really self-conscious about it. And, you know, kids are mean. When you're growing up, it's hard being, especially age like 12, 13, 14, 15. Those years, very, very hard. And I don't know. I was very self-conscious about it. But now I have publicly shared it on the internet because you asked that question. So there you go. Something you definitely did not know about me. I am going to use, y'all, look what I did. I know. Every year I say I'm not going to do this, and I do it every single time. I need to just stop saying anything at all because we all know that I'm going to buy this Hourglass palette, even though I literally say every single year that I'm not going to, and I haven't used it yet. So we're going to use a little bit of it right now. So I'm going to go in with the bronzer, which is Diffused Bronze Light, which I think that one is one of their permanent colors. I think, I could be wrong, but I feel like that name sounds kind of familiar. Let's move into an easier question. What is your all-time favorite foundation that you typically reach for all the time? Also, skin tint, including all the new ones that just came out. Okay. This is a very hard question for me. Okay, my favorite foundation. This may shock you because believe it or not, this is a new foundation, but it is the Makeup by Mario foundation. The new Surreal Skin, the natural finish one. That foundation has just completely taken over in my makeup collection. I have others that I really like, but the one I'm reaching for when I actually wear a foundation right now is that one. And I cannot believe it because that's a very new product. I don't know, it's been out a few months now, but that is my favorite foundation right now, I can confidently say, which is kind of crazy. Now, a skin tint, that's much harder because I wear skin tints pretty much on a daily basis. I wear skin tints more than I wear foundation. I have 3 in my head and I'm trying to think of what I would choose if I had to pick one. Okay, my first thought was the Merit Uniform. I love that one. Love that one. That one is very, very light coverage, so I typically pair that with a fuller coverage concealer. That's kind of my go-to combo. I also love the CL Tint and Protect, but that one has a good bit more coverage in it. It's also, I would say, a little bit glowier on the skin than the Merit one is. So of those two, I would choose the Merit if I had to pick one. But now, based on like the last few weeks and using this, now I'm thinking maybe this is my number one skin tint, the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin. Now this one does not have SPF. The Merit and the CL both have SPF 50. It doesn't really matter for me because I wear SPF underneath the Merit and the CL anyway. But I feel I have severely been sleeping on this. Like even today, I keep looking at it in the mirror and thinking, oh my gosh, that skin tint is so beautiful. So beautiful. So honestly, right at this moment, I would probably say the Lisa Eldridge is my top one, which is kind of crazy because I don't really talk about it and I've just kind of rediscovered it in the last few weeks, but it has a decent amount of coverage. It's a really beautiful natural finish. It's very thin and lightweight on the skin. I love it. So honestly, that would probably be my answer now. Okay, I'm gonna mix a little bit of the two blushes in here. We already applied a cream blush, so I really don't have to do powder, but I kind of want to use just a little bit of it. So I'm just gonna kind of use a little bit of both shades with this new Refer brush. This is, I don't know if it's a new brush, but they sent it to me. This is the number 38. It's like a flat, long bristled, more precise brush, but it's really nice. I'm just taking a little bit of both of those. Next question, are there any Christmas holiday traditions you are looking forward to continuing or starting with Woods? The one thing that comes to mind is me and my brother growing up, we always got like a new Christmas ornament every year. Like every year we were growing up, and they were usually like Hallmark Christmas ornaments. I would love to do that with Woods. In fact, we were in Disney last week. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a little bit about this on my stories, but we were at Disney and we got him his first ornament at the Christmas shop that's there, and we got his name put on it. It's so cute. It's a little Dumbo ornament, or it's a bottle and it has Dumbo in it and it says baby's first Christmas, and we got his name put on it. Oh my gosh, it's the cutest thing ever. So we always did that growing up, so I would definitely like to continue doing that with him. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's kind of the main thing that comes to mind. And then one other part to this question was, if you could have your makeup done by one makeup artist, who would it be? There are two that I love so much. If you watch me, you probably know who they are. Patrick Ta and Mario Dedivanovic. I guess if I absolutely had to pick, I would choose Mario because I love his whole brand. I love just his whole aesthetic. I love the way he does makeup. I was able to see him last year when I went to Sephora last September. It was actually right before I found out I was pregnant, and I went to Sephora. It was in Atlanta last year, and I saw him, or I went to his master class, and it was one of my favorite experiences I've ever had. Like that was just like pure bliss and heaven for me. And I did not want that master class to end. It was like an hour long, and I have never paid so much attention ever in my life. Like I was like locked in, paying attention to everything he said, because I just think everything he does is just stunning. So if I had to pick, I would choose him. But I do love, y'all know I love Patrick Ta, and I do. I would honestly love for either of them to do my makeup, but I think if I had to choose, I would choose Mario. And part of the reason I wanted to do this video specifically, and I did decide to kind of share some things about my postpartum experience that I wasn't really sure that I was going to share is I just totally lost my train of thought, like completely lost it. That's another thing I did not expect. Like my brain now, I forget things. Like I just forget things. I would not call myself forgetful before I was pregnant. And now after having a baby, like I just forget stuff. I forget stuff all the time. I'll be in the bathroom and think, oh, I need to go to the kitchen to get something. And I'll get to the kitchen and I've completely forgotten what I went to the kitchen for. I had no idea that that was a thing, but it definitely is. Okay, I think I just remembered what I was going to say before I went off topic and started talking about the fact that my brain doesn't seem to work like it used to. Is the reason I wanted to make this video, and I decided to share these things about my experience, is there's a lot on social media that paints just life in general, motherhood, but just life in general in a very unrealistic light. And I do not want to do that. I want to be, honest with you. And life is not rainbows and butterflies all the time. And there's a lot of content on social media that makes you look at it and think, oh wow, like their life is perfect. And it's just not reality. It's just not reality, and I want to be real. I do not want to be put on for you. So that's ultimately why I decided to make this video and to talk about a few things that I was not going to originally. But, I want to be as real as possible with you. Moving into the next question. Are you more confident and calm now that you've had your baby? I remember you saying you were nervous that you paid for ultrasounds weekly due to being so concerned about everything. You are looking gorgeous, by the way. Thank you so much. That's so nice. Am I more confident and more calm? I am definitely more calm, for sure. Yes, in pregnancy, I was a nervous wreck. I mean, just to be honest, I was definitely a nervous wreck, especially in the first trimester. We did a ton of those 3D ultrasounds where you can pay to go to like a center and just get an ultrasound whenever you want, because something that was shocking to me about pregnancy, at least in the United States, you really only get like the very first ultrasound where they confirm the pregnancy. And then I don't think you really get another one until the 20-week anatomy scan. I did get one additional ultrasound that was like 2 weeks after the very first one, because I kind of explained to them that I was very nervous about everything, just with my past and, what has happened before. So I did have a third one, but I'm pretty sure that you typically don't get a third one. I think you only get that first one and then the 20-week anatomy scan, which is just crazy to me. But yes, we did pay a lot of money to go and get, not weekly ultrasounds, but I don't know how many I did, but I did quite a few of them. And I don't regret that at all, to be honest. I would say if you're feeling nervous, I would 100% recommend doing that, because it really did help me, at least when I could go and see, yes, everything is okay, he's doing okay in there. That really helped me in terms of my peace of mind. So now that I've had him, yes, I'm definitely more calm. Like I kind of spoke about earlier, I definitely struggled with some anxiety and depression right after I had him. And I still have days where I feel just very overwhelmed and not great, but overall I would say I feel much better now. In terms of being confident, I don't know that I'm confident. I mean, there's a lot that I don't know. Like I said, I did not have a lot of experience at all with babies before this. I really did not know a lot. So this has just been a huge learning experience for me now. I will say I have come a long way in terms of just, I can remember being in the hospital and like when it came time to like change his diaper, I was like anxious about changing his diaper because I like didn't want to hurt him. Like I felt like I was I was gonna pull on him too hard. And like, I'm sure if you've been a parent before, you can probably relate to that. Like, it's just, if you're not used to being around babies and doing those kinds of things, it's a really scary thing. You feel like you're gonna like break them or something, which is just crazy. But that's how I felt. Now I don't worry about any of those things at all. So I've come a very long way in addition to, or in those aspects. Now I still don't really go out with him. I have a few times, like to the grocery store with my husband, or we've taken him to Costco a few times. But yeah, I don't drive with him a ton yet. Maybe that's weird, but I am still kind of nervous with that. I don't know. I'm just trying not to like force myself. And luckily I work from home, so I don't have to drive on a daily basis. And I don't. I am basically here and I'm with him all day, every day, either with him, like feeding him, playing with him, changing him, or I'm frantically trying to film content or edit it. That's kind of my life right now. But yeah, I don't know that I would say I'm super confident yet. I don't know. I am very confident in my ability to calm him and to be like a mom to him. I feel like he definitely responds really well to me, and I love that about being a mom. So that I definitely feel very confident about. Now, going out with him and all of that, I don't feel super confident with that. But you know, I'm getting there and I know I'll get there eventually. All right, next question is, I'd love to know about your family. You have a brother. How is your relationship with him? How is your mom, your dad, and your grandmother? How are they with Woods? Yes, I do have a brother. He doesn't live here in South Carolina. He still lives in the Charlotte area. And yeah, we have a great relationship. My dad also lives in the Charlotte area. I don't see either of them as much because they don't live here. My mom does live here. She lives very close by. So we see her quite a bit. And she's here now. She's with Woods right now, which is why I can film this video because she comes like 2 days a week and hangs out with him and takes care of him while I film content. But yeah, we have a good relationship. I see my mom the most though because she's here. And my grandmother. So yes, Gama is what we call her. She has been on my channel before and she is good. She does have, I haven't shared this either, but I'm going to because hopefully y'all can give her thoughts and positive vibes her way. She does have breast cancer. She had breast cancer years ago and she beat it, thank goodness. But she does unfortunately have it again. She was diagnosed with that about a month or so ago. And so she is okay. She's going through chemo right now, which is, as you can imagine, or maybe you've experienced yourself, very difficult. But she's one of the strongest people on the planet, I promise you. And I know that she is going to be fine and she's going to be okay. And I know she's watching this video and I love you so much. She's such an amazing, beautiful person. And she's been in one video. If you've been around my channel for a while, you may have seen that video. I would love for her to be in another video. But yeah, if you could send all your good vibes and thoughts and prayers to Gama, I would really appreciate it. And I know that she would too. I know she's watching this video. But thank you for asking about them. And then you also asked, how does it feel for Chris to be a father? It's, it's such a weird, not weird, but it's such a crazy thing when you've been married to, we've been married for 8 years. So we were married, for like 7 years before we had Woods. Is that even right? I don't even know what I'm saying. We've been married for a while before we had a baby. So it's weird when you see your significant other as a parent when it's just been the two of you. And yeah, it's amazing to see him as a father. We, as most first-time parents I'm sure could agree with. It's definitely been challenging. It's been very beautiful and it's been a beautiful experience overall, but it has been challenging and it's challenged us in our relationship. And, you know, we're still figuring things out. We're still very new to this. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to start talking more quickly. Otherwise, we're never gonna get through these questions. But next question was, gosh, it's really hard to do eyeliner and talk at the same time. Did you have any help, family or friends, in your first few weeks of motherhood? Yes, my mom was here pretty much every day for a while, and she's still here like quite a bit. So yes, my mom, like I said earlier, she lives very close to us, thank goodness. And yeah, she was here, and thank God she was, because those first few weeks are something else. So yes, I did. I was lucky enough to have help. And then, hi Blair, hope all is well with you and your family. What is your favorite part of motherhood so far? Would love to know about your birth story if you're willing to share. My favorite part of motherhood, okay. That's a hard question to just answer. I feel like I would have to like really think about it. But what comes to mind right off the bat is I love, kind of like I said earlier, I love feeling like I can comfort him when he's upset or when he's just, you know, I love feeling like a mom to somebody. I don't know how to even explain that, but I love to feel like at this point I'm like his person. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does, but I love that feeling. And I also love when he smiles at me. When he smiles at me, I can't describe that feeling. I really can't. His little grin, he kind of has dimples. I've kind of said this before, and I know that I sound like I'm very biased, obviously, because he's my baby, but I think he's like the cutest baby on the planet. And I'm not kidding. He is just absolutely precious. I did talk a little bit about my birth story in my first video when I came back after having him a few months ago, but I'll kind of give like a brief synopsis of it. Overall, I would say my birth story was very positive, and I am someone, I've talked about this a few times, but I have always been very afraid of childbirth, always. I was more afraid of giving birth than anything else. Like I was more afraid of that than being pregnant, having a baby, postpartum. I was so worried about like actually like the labor process. And luckily, and I'm so thankful for this, my experience was really positive. So basically what happened with me was my water broke 2 days before I actually had him, but it broke very slowly. Like I had a very slow leak of amniotic fluid, so little that I didn't think it was my water that had broken. And so I put off going to the hospital for quite a while. Finally went, they did a check on me and they were like, oh no, like your water is broken, and it's been broken for a while. And they kind of encouraged me to start on some Pitocin, which I really did not want to do. I was really not wanting to be induced in any way, but my body was like trying to go into labor because, like I said, my water had broken, but the amniotic fluid was coming out just like in tiny little trickles. But I wasn't having any contractions, none. I had no physical signs of labor at all. So when I went in to get checked Sunday, actually, before I ended up having him on Monday, they kind of suggested that I start on some Pitocin to kind of get things going. So I did, and yeah, the next morning I had him. I guess I had Pitocin for like, I don't know, probably like 8 hours, I would say, from like 2 o'clock on Sunday to 10 o'clock that night. I got an epidural, and then I had him the next morning. I dilated all night long, and in the morning, I was 10 centimeters, and I had him at 7:23 a.m. So overall, the labor experience was very positive. I wish that I didn't have to do the Pitocin, but that was just how it worked out for me. For whatever reason, my body was not having contractions on its own. It like needed something to get it going. I don't know. But after that, the birth part was pretty smooth, which I'm very happy about. And I'm really grateful that I had that experience, to be honest, because like I said, that was something I had been so scared about for most of my life. I had always been scared of childbirth. I don't know why. I just always had this fear about it, and luckily it worked out and it was a good experience overall. So my experience was positive. Now I wish, obviously, after he was born, he had to go to the NICU, like I said earlier. I wish that had not happened, as I'm sure all parents that have an experience with the NICU, I really wish that did not happen, but it did, and he's doing well now and he's healthy and everything is good. But I do wish that didn't happen, because I think maybe my breastfeeding journey would have turned out differently. But overall, I would say it's a good experience, and one that I'm very grateful that I had. Next one is, will you do some more one brand videos or holiday looks in the future? Yes, for sure. I definitely want to do at least one like Christmas, like holiday kind of look. And then, yes, I need to do another one brand video. That is on my very, 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 very long list of videos to film. I have so many videos that I want to film. I mean, I have pages of things that I have ideas all the time. I just have to find the time to do those things. But yes, I will definitely do both of those. Let's see. I know this happened to me, so I'm curious if anything about motherhood was easier to settle into than what you had originally anticipated. Easier. Well, honestly, it would probably be the birth part. The birth part was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Honestly, when I was pregnant, I was the most concerned about that part, about the birth part. I wasn't worried about after having the baby at all. I was like, oh, I'm not worried about postpartum at all. When in reality, I should have been more worried about the postpartum period and not as worried about the labor part. So that was kind of shocking to me. I definitely had it backwards. I definitely had my worries all in the wrong place, but you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know. I guess I would know that more in the future if I had another baby, which I guess we'll move into that question now, because I did get that question, if we want to have more. Okay. My answer to this question changes depending on the day, if I'm being 100% honest. I think growing up, I always thought I would have two. And there are some days where I still think, yeah, I would like to have two. But there are some days that have been really hard, and I would tell you, no, I'm not sure that I want to have more. So I don't really know at this point, to be totally honest. Right now my focus is on woods and getting myself in the best place that I can be physically, mentally, all the things. And then I trust that I will know at some point if I want to have another one or not. Because, one part of my brain is like, I don't want to rush it. I want to give myself some time, which I do. But then the other part of my brain is like, well, you're 33. Once you reach 35, then you're considered high risk and geriatric, which is just crazy to me. But when you're 35, that's what happens. And I also, like I said earlier, I had trouble getting pregnant and staying pregnant. So I don't even know if I could get pregnant again. So that kind of scares me too. I don't really want to go through the loss of a pregnancy again. But those are kind of all my thoughts that I'm having. I just don't know. I don't know at this point, but I feel like I will know at some point. Next question is, how are your pets adjusting to the baby? Has your relationship with your pets changed since becoming a mom? I love this question. So if you aren't familiar with me or my content, we have a golden retriever. His name is Cosmo, and he is 11. He actually turned 11 yesterday. So he is older, and he is sweetest dog, but he is extremely jealous. Extremely jealous. Like, he just gets all bent out of shape when someone's here, or Chris and I are talking to each other, or we're talking to Woods and we're ignoring him. He just gets beside himself, which is kind of cute and makes me kind of sad, because I'm sure he does feel like a loss of attention, which is normal. But yeah, our relationship with Cosmo has not changed. He is still a sweet angel, and we love him so much. And he is such a precious, sweet dog. But he is old, and he's very set in his ways, and I do feel bad sometimes if I feel like he feels like he's left out. So we try to make sure that we're talking to him, paying as much attention to him as we possibly can. But that has definitely been an adjustment for Cosmo, for sure. And then we also have 2 cats, and the cats are just kind of uninterested. Belle, who is our older cat, Belle is, let's see, she's 12, I think. She's either 12 or 13. So she's older, obviously, and she is just kind of like, she's kind of interested sometimes. Like, when I'm holding him, when I'm feeding him, she'll come over and act like she's interested. But then when he cries or he makes any type of noise when she's around, she does kind of stare at him like, okay, dude, could you be quiet? You're like really annoying me. So she kind of acts annoyed by him. And then Louis, who is our younger cat, he's 3. He also doesn't pay Woods a ton of attention. Every now and then he will. But yeah, the cats are just kind of uninterested. So, but we try to give everybody all the attention, but it is different. It has changed a little bit, just because that's what happens when you have a baby. All right, we'll end on this one because I'm at the end of the makeup. I think I missed a few questions, but maybe we'll do another one of these videos if you guys like these videos. Has motherhood changed the way you approach makeup or beauty routines? Your style seems pretty consistent, but I'd love to know if there are certain products, techniques, or looks you gravitate toward more now since becoming a mom. That's a good question. In terms of my makeup, I feel like I do it pretty much the same. If there's a change, I would say it's probably just that I don't put makeup on every day. There are days when I just don't get to it because I just don't have the time. I have too many other things that I'm trying to do. And typically before that, I would put makeup on majority of the days. But in terms of like my routine, it really hasn't changed that much. I have a very minimal makeup style anyway, so I don't do like a ton of makeup anyway on a daily basis. So I don't really think that has changed. I'm definitely much more into skin tints now. I do very little eye makeup, but I'd never have done a ton of eye makeup, but I definitely don't now. I do very minimal matte shadows. I've been loving this Patrick Ta palette that I got during the Sephora sale. One of my favorite things I bought by far from the sale is this. Other than that, I do just very simple makeup looks, but I always kind of do that. So that's not really different. One thing that has changed, I will say, is like I was saying earlier, I just don't have the time that I once had. So my nails have totally like gone out the window. Like my nails have nothing on them. They're bare. I was getting them done for a while when I was pregnant and then a little bit after I had Woods, but I don't have the time. I don't want to spend the time going and getting them done. I don't really want to spend the money on it either. I would prefer to just paint my nails at home, and I have found a lot of polishes that I really like. I'm just having trouble finding the time to sit down and paint my nails when I can actually do it and not need to like be using my hands to do something. So that has been a bit of a struggle. Really anything like beauty wise has kind of been a struggle. Like I used to do like a face mask once a week. I haven't really been doing that. I don't wash my hair that often because that's a whole process when I do that. That's always kind of been the case though, so that's not that different. I just don't have as much time to spend on things as I did before, so I'm just not doing as much as I used to. But you know, that kind of comes with the territory, and it's a phase. It'll be different at some point, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. All right, that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't talk your ear off too much. I'm assuming I probably did. I feel like I've been filming for a long time, but you know, I had a lot to say about these things, and I haven't talked about a lot of this stuff, and I wanted to do it in this video because a lot of you have been here for a few years since, you know, when I had struggles with pregnancy and things before. I've kind of talked about it here and there in videos, and y'all have been here. So many of you have been here for quite a while, and I want this, like I said in the beginning, to be a positive video for somebody that maybe is struggling, or just a way for someone to feel like they aren't alone and that I struggle just like everybody else. I hope you don't mind me sharing the things that I shared. And it was, you know, I shared a few things that are pretty personal that I don't typically share. But like I said, I wanted to be honest and open with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Everything that I used, I will link below. I feel like I used a few things I didn't really talk about. So if I didn't mention something, it'll all be in the description box with links and the shades. I'll link everything in YouTube shopping as well. And if you're new, I would love for you to stick around, subscribe, and make sure to follow me over on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1. And let me know if you want me to do more of these Q&A style videos in the future. I can definitely do that. But I will see you again very soon. Remember, simply be you. Bye.